Okay, here is the last part, and this will probably be short as well. The last installment here on urban crime and poverty, etc., for Riverside and Herbert Hoover High School. So we were talking about the different explanations for high crime. We talked about low-class culture. We talked about Herrnstein and Murray's book, The Bell Curve. We talked about the structure of capitalism, black residential segregation. Fact, high rates of crime in a neighborhood lowers property values and also generates a climate of fear that's detrimental to the community. If you're afraid to be in a place, you're probably not going to want to live there. So cities, especially inner cities with reputations for crime, some deserve, some not so much, this creates this climate of fear. It keeps people from moving there or wanting to live there who may have money, who may be of the middle class structure or maybe in the upper class. To solve these problems, researchers have argued to improve building designs to create more what's called defensible space, which residents can easily monitor. So if you open up buildings, get rid of alleyways and corners and crevices, install video cameras, it could decrease crime. Other strategies have included street patrols by local citizens. You have Crime Watch, areas. You've probably seen signs even in West Virginia in certain cities or certain parts of Charleston where it says Crime Watch, Community Neighborhood Watch. Also, tougher attitude toward crime, tougher laws. New York City is famous for having some of the strictest stances on gun laws of anywhere in the country. Improving economic opportunities in poor communities. That's easier said than done, but if you could do that, then it would decrease the need or the perceived need to commit crimes to survive if you have legitimate, thriving economic opportunities. Other solutions to high crime in urban areas. Collaborative faith-based programs have created models for victim assistance. Regardless of your religious affiliation or whether you're even religious or not, these faith-based programs have proven to be somewhat to very successful. Places like St. Paul, Minnesota, Nashville, Tennessee, Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, Baltimore, Maryland, Richmond, California. Other solutions to high crime in urban areas. This is from the Urban Institute of Washington, D.C., some other solutions, maybe expanding youth curfews, setting a time, whether it's 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock at night, whatever, midnight. All children under the age of 18 have to be indoors. If they're not, they have to provide a legitimate excuse as to why they're not. Sealing off gang hangouts. Installing video cameras in high crime areas. Building and sustaining crime prevention programs. Promoting family and neighborhood development. Promoting civic development. Youth mentoring programs have all been proposed and utilized, with some to good success. Increasing juvenile crime rates in cities is a real big problem. Now, crime rates overall are down and have been since 1990. We've talked about that. However, again, juvenile violent crime rates have increased fourfold according to some research that I've looked at very recently. So it is definitely up. And some cities are enacting tougher juvenile laws to try to combat this problem. Some cities they have a higher incidence of trying juveniles as adults. And I've known that to happen a couple times in West Virginia working in the prison system. But there was a story not too long ago, and I can't recall whether it was out of D.C. or Maryland, but I do know that D.C. and Maryland have adopted tougher stances on prosecuting juvenile violent offenders. But at any rate, this kid went on to, I think he was like 13 or 14, walked onto a school bus and just violently attacked his bus driver. I mean, I think he may have even killed somebody. I'm not sure about that, so I'm not going to say for sure. But they tried him as an adult, and he was convicted as an adult, and he's spending most of his life in juvenile detention. And when he turns 18, he will move right into the prison system for adults. So some cities are adopting tougher stances on juvenile violent offending. Patrick outlines a plan to decrease urban crime, city crime, and increase the overall quality of urban life in Massachusetts. He suggests restructuring the allocation of government funds to make schools more equal. Well, that sounds really great. Actually doing this is a different story, though. So some of this might be sort of idealistic or pie in the sky, but it sounds good. And if you can do these things, it would certainly help. Economic development to alleviate traffic and to improve housing, involving everyone in decision-making processes, especially the people who live in inner cities, the poor minorities. Improve them, or include them rather, in decision-making processes. Improve local transportation. Attracting and retaining good cities in these. Attracting and retaining good jobs in these cities could be another key to decreasing urban crime. If you have more economic opportunities, good jobs, you're going to have less of a motivation for crime. Increasing police presence on the streets. That could also deter criminal behavior. Familiarize law enforcement with all parts of the city that they will be patrolling. The Crime Victims for a Just Society, May of 2002. One problem with the perception of crime is the media, and I harp on this a lot. It seems to me, and I've said this in a lot of classes that I teach, and I hope I'm not offending any media students or anybody who works in the media, but it does seem, especially in our area that we live in and that we work in and play in, that news reporters try to find the most ignorant amongst us to put on the news. It's almost comical. I can't count the number of times people who say to me, "My goodness, Brandon, when we watch your news at night, they're traveling through from different states. They turn on the news. You guys have to, it looks like you are the dumbest state in the country when they put your people on the news." I've heard that a million times. And I think I think every state is kind of guilty of this because for ratings, you want to see, it's almost like people want to watch the news just to see the dumb hick talk, the guy, the toothless fool talk. And it can be a really big problem, and it creates stereotypes that are unfortunate as well. So Michigan State University and other schools like that have developed programs to build an effective media strategy to deal with crime and victims. Inner city crime is sensationalized. We want to see it, so it gets reported more. Then we start to come to the misunderstanding that, crime rates maybe are higher in inner cities. Well, they are, but they're not as high as we think they are. Because of the media coverage sometimes. So the media has a responsibility to fairly represent crime victims and crime statistics. And I'm not saying they don't. I'm not beating up on the media. I'm just saying. And to encourage and educate media members about real crime rates. So that could go a long way as well. And that is all that I have. Thank you.